So I got in touch with the only person that he's doing a great job. When you're at the post game press conference with Tortorella, I know Charlie's voice, so I know when he's asking a question. So I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth because Charlie's there. He's with the Athletic. He covers the Flyers for the Athletic. Let's go to the Maserati, the Mainline Sports Hotline, and welcome into the locker room, Charlie O'Connor. Good morning, Charlie.
Hey, Billy. How you doing?
Charlie, I'm pissed off. I got to be honest with you, Charlie. I am pissed off. I'm a big Flyers fan. This once proud organization, Ed Snyder's got to be rolling over in his grave. I mean, people like Charlie, I went off yesterday, and that's why I decided to call you. I could not believe what I saw when the Rangers came to town, all the fans. I know you were there. What was it like?
Yeah, it felt like a road game. You have. I wrote in my article after the game, 19 seconds in, you had a "Let's Go Rangers" chant. You had Igor chants for Igor Shesterkin, their goalie. You had a classic Potvin sucks chant going in the second period. It was a Rangers game. It basically was a Rangers game, and you could tell from the minute. I take the subway to games, and I could tell from the minute I walked out into the sports complex. Everybody walking in was wearing blue, and it was, the Rangers are an exciting team right now. Obviously they just traded for Patrick Kane, they traded for Vladimir Tarasenko. Their fans are pumped about their team, and it makes sense that they would try to come down. It's not that far of a trip. The tickets are a lot cheaper than it is at MSG, and on the other side, Flyers fans rightfully are really ticked off about the direction of the team, and justifiably, they don't want to spend their money on this team. This team doesn't deserve their money.
Why go to a game? The Flyers haven't won a home game since February 9th, Charlie.
Yeah. The product hasn't been good, and obviously, now they're at least on some level acknowledging that a rebuild is necessary. Now, whether they're going to be able to do what is needed to properly rebuild, that's another question. But yeah, this isn't getting fixed anytime soon. They just don't have. You look at. I was thinking about this last night regarding the New Jersey Devils, another team that that believes they can contend for the Eastern Conference this year and moving forward. And you look at their forward core. They have guys like obviously Jack Hughes, but they have guys like Nico Hischier, Jesper Bratt. They just traded for Timo Meier. All four of those guys, and I'm a Travis Konechny fan, but all four of those guys are better than Travis Konechny.
Yeah.
And Travis Konechny, you're saying that the Devils, who aren't even the favorite to win the Eastern Conference, the favorite rightfully is the Boston Bruins, who are having an incredible year, but you're saying like the second-tier contender in the East has four forwards better than the Flyers' best forward. Travis Konechny would be the fifth best forward on the New Jersey Devils, and that just shows you how far away they are from competing for anything serious.
We're talking with Charlie Connor of the Athletic. He covers the Flyers for the Athletic. Charlie, all right, you're down there. You get the you're at practices. You're at the pregame, postgame press conference. When did this fall off the rails, and is it time for Chuck Fletcher to go?
Well, when it fell off the rails, it's a good question. It just doesn't seem like that anything ever got put back on the rails after the bubble playoff run. They got to the second round. They took the Islanders to 7 games. Maybe they disappointed a little bit because you thought, at the very least they can get to the Final Four. They were the top seed going, before the pandemic. They were the hottest team in the Eastern Conference. But really, ever since the next season, it's just been a steady decline. And all the moves that have been made, really by Chuck Fletcher, haven't worked out, and they've just honestly, in a lot of ways, made things worse. So, if you're asking, should he go? Based on his track record over the last 3 years, it's hard to justify, his continued spot as the GM. Now, the question is whether the ownership believes that he can fix it. And for fans, they obviously think that that's ridiculous, that, how can you expect that the guy who made all the mistakes to put the team in this predicament, how can you expect that guy can also be the one who fixes it? But in the end, the fans aren't the ones making the decision. The owners are the ones that make the decision, and to this point, they still have faith in Chuck Fletcher. Now, whether at the end of the year they may rethink that, I don't know. We'll see. But, they kept him as GM this long, so until they decide that he's not the guy to fix this, I guess he's going to keep getting shots to try to fix this.
We're talking with Charlie O'Connor from The Athletic. He covers the Flyers. You follow him on Twitter at CharlieO_Con. Charlie, what do you make of Tortorella? I mean, I hear you asking some tough questions, and I really appreciate that. I know your voice. So, but overall, what do you think of Tortorella and how with the job that he's done with he didn't realize all the minutia that he would have to deal with coming to this organization. I kind of thought that was like a weird statement.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit more about the some of the off-ice stuff. You know, some restructurings they needed to do. I think it was a lot of a reference to the fact that there were some issues in terms of how injuries were dealt with last season in particular. You know, there were a lot of guys who came back too soon from injuries, and I think, you know, there was a mentality within that whole section of the staff to just kind of let the players do what they wanted in terms of when they wanted to come back. And, you know, hockey players, they always think they can come back, and then it turns out, no, you should have, you know, stayed out for a couple extra weeks to give your body a chance to heal. So I think that was more what he was referring to there. But in terms of, you know, my view of Tortorella, I think Tortorella is getting about as much out of this roster as a coach could get out of this roster. The problem is that this roster isn't very good. So there's only so much that he can do to improve this team because their ceiling is just so low. Now, the one concern I've had about Tortorella from the start is that, you know, he is a guy who's going to try to implement culture. He's obviously more of an old school guy in terms of his approach to players, in terms of his approach to accountability and whatnot. And for this to work, for their whole plan, I'm talking the organization's plan, to work, is Tortorella's message can't grow stale, and he can't start losing the room. And there have been some moments over the last few weeks or so where, you know, you wonder if the players are starting to tune him out a little bit. There have been more blowouts over the last few weeks. There was a thing with Travis Sanheim where he sat Travis Sanheim in a game in Calgary when Sanheim's family and friends were all at the game, so he scratched him. So, and it's just one of those things where, you know, like, it's, do I think he was justified in scratching him? I mean, yeah, Sanheim had a real bad game the night before, but that's the kind of stuff that, you know, it could turn a locker room from, okay, this guy's kind of a jerk, but he makes good points and he's a good coach, to basically like, screw this guy, he's just a jerk and I'm not going to listen to him anymore. And, you know, do I think it's at that point? No, I don't. But it's something you got to always be worried about because, you know, you remember what happened with Alain Vigneault. You know, Alain Vigneault, by the end, the players had tuned him out. And, you know, if that were to happen again, then suddenly this team goes from, you know, yeah, they've been bad this year. But
Charlie,
they haven't been getting embarrassed.
But Charlie, Sanheim's no Stamkos. He got benched the other night by Cooper at Tampa Bay. You're talking to a guy who's won 3 cups.
True.
Right? I mean, what's he like? Even like, what's the relationship between Kevin Hayes and Tortorella?
Well, that's a really good question. You know, they've butted heads, definitely. You know, both of them have said that, you know, we've been professional about it. You know, it's not like we hate each other, but yeah, they clearly disagree about, you know, the way Kevin Hayes plays. Kevin Hayes, understandably, thinks he's an NHL center. John Tortorella does not think Kevin Hayes can play center at the NHL level in a way that John Tortorella finds acceptable. So, yeah, they have disagreements. And, you know, with Hayes, it's just one guy. But, and again, like, I'm not necessarily saying that Tortorella is wrong. It's just that, you know, there's only so many buttons you can push with a team before they start to tune you out, and I don't think it's there. It may never get there. It's just something that, you know, you have to be cognizant of because they have made progress this year in terms of the big thing Tortorella loves to say is being hard to play against. You know, they're not winning a ton of games.
Yeah, but he even said it in the interview.
They are playing harder.
But Charlie, even it said in the interview like that they're not respected around the league. Was he talking about the organization or the actual product on the ice?
I think he was talking about a little bit of both. I do think he believes that the team is more respected in terms of their effort level. You know, this year and the way they play, you know, they hit more, they fight more, they do all that kind of stuff. You know, they're not rolling over and dying as much as they had in past years. These last few weeks have been the first time where you've seen games where they just get blown out. Generally speaking, when they've lost this year, they lose close. But you do have to just keep an eye on it, because if those sorts of 7-0 losses start happening more and guys start coasting on the back check and things like that, then you start to worry that Tortorella's message is growing stale. And if it grows stale quickly, then you wonder what the whole point of the season was in the first place.
Yeah, Charlie, listen, I'm a proponent of fighting, but I don't know if I'd sign a goon to a 4-year contract guaranteed with no trade clause.
Trade.
I mean, how do you do that? Who in their right mind signs a goon? And I love, listen, the Flyers lead the league in fights, which I love, but you got to win at the same time. You can't, just because what are you going to, you think he's bringing the Broad Street Bullies back? That game's changed.
Yeah, I think, Tortorella sees this as a way for him to sort of show that you can combine the old school ways, the emphasis on hitting, the emphasis on shot blocking, obviously fights. You have guys like that. You can combine that with the new school, and you can win that way. I think that's one of the reasons why he took the job in Philly, because he sees this market as one where he can sort of build his ideal team from a cultural standpoint. Now, look, I'm with you. I wouldn't have signed Nick Delorier to a 4-year contract. That to me is wild. What I can tell you, though, is that that's the only way they were going to get him. There were other teams that wanted him, and
I like him too. I like Delorier. I like
that 4th year. That was the only way they were going to get him.
I love the way he plays. I like that style of hockey, but you got to win at the same time. And look, you're talking about an organization that's only had 2 wins in the month of February, and what I can't get out of my mind is that scene that I shut my eyes and I see all the Rangers fans in the Wells Fargo Center, Charlie.
Yeah, and that's something where you do wonder if those are the types of things that might actually get Comcast attention, Comcast Spectacor, the owners of the team, because it's embarrassing. It is embarrassing to see that many opposing fans, particularly from a rival team, invade your arena and basically take it over. That's the thing that Flyers fans used to do. Flyers fans used to joke all the time that, they would all go up to Devils games, and the Devils Arena, Prudential Center, would basically just be Wells Fargo Center North, and now it's happening to the Flyers.
All right, Charlie, one last question for you. How long is it going to take to turn this team around? I mean, you're talking about a team that's in disarray, depleted of talent. How long do you think it'll be before they're relevant?
We're talking years, and I guess it depends on what your definition of relevant is. Like, the NHL is a weird league. You see teams all the time have surprising years where they exceed expectations and they make the playoffs out of nowhere. But if you're talking about relevant in the sense of competing for championships, not just having a one-season fluke year where everything breaks right for you, where you're an actual cup contender on a yearly basis, this is going to take years. I mean, we're talking 3, 4, 5 years at least in my mind, because they just don't have the talent right now, and you don't get that overnight. You have to draft it, you have to develop it, you have to clean out your cap situation to be able to sign guys that bring that talent level, and that's not a snap your fingers and a half this kind of thing. That's something that happens over the course of many, many years. So this isn't going to turn around anytime soon in my mind, sadly.
Thanks a lot, Charlie. Listen, you guys really ready for this, Carlin? Ready for this, Charlie? I was in 6th grade the last time the Flyers won the Stanley Cup. I went to the parade in 1974, 73, 74, or 74, 75.
Long time.
Charlie, it's been too long, man.
Long time.
But not long enough to have you back on the program. We love talking to you, Charlie. I really appreciate it. And only thing I can say is, let's hope the Flyers turn it around.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know. Sometimes things break your way. Maybe they'll win the lottery and get that hotshot Connor Bedard. You never know.
All right, Charlie. As always, we really appreciate it, buddy, and we love your work in the Athletic, and we follow you all the time. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Billy.
There he is, Charlie O'Connor from the Athletic, who covers the Flyers. You can follow him on Twitter @CharlieO_Con. It's an embarrassment, Carl.